Sir, let me give you an example.
Yes.
Just from right now, the last question I asked you, just before asking the question, my heart was pounding.
Yes.
It was pounding because the silence.
Correct.
You were saying.
Correct.
I was this time it's pounding less, but still I'm confident. But I know what I'm going to ask, and I know that. Also.
Kulpreet, allow me to take this up. As you are standing in front of me right now, this is the situation, right? This is when and where the action is. And you say you are far less afraid right now.
Yes, sir.
In the action, you are not afraid. In the moment of action, you are not afraid, but you are afraid before the action. Now, before the moment of action, is there any action? Before the moment of action, is there any action? But something else is there. What is there?
Thinking.
So what is fear? So what is fear? Is fear there in this moment of action? So is this action actually fearful? No. There is no fear in actually getting up and asking. What is fear then? Remember, he was afraid before action when he was thinking about asking. Hence fear is a thought. Merely a thought. There is no substance to fear. When you are into it, who has the occasion to be afraid? Right now, are you afraid? Neither am I. There is this situation, there you are, here am I, and we are in contact, and there is something going on. There is no reason for fear. But then, that thought makes you afraid. And what's that thought all about? We'll go into it. What's that thought all about? Just keep standing. Would you be afraid? After all, when you say I'm asking a question, what are you doing? You are just speaking, correct? You are not dancing. You are not getting under the chair. You are not hopping about. When you say I'm asking a question, what is it that you are doing? You are just speaking. Merely speaking. That's the action, correct? Now, would you be afraid of speaking had all these people not been there? Would you be afraid of speaking, Kuldeep, had even I not been there? Assume you are alone in this room, nobody else is there. Would you be afraid of speaking in a solitary room, in a vacant room?
Sir, I'll just ask one question.
You can even sing and dance, and you don't bother. But right now, if you are told to sing and dance, that's too much to ask, correct? So what is the fear all about? We said fear is a thought. Now we are going deeper into that. Thought of what? Thought about whom? Others. Correct? Because had these others not been there, you would not have been afraid. Had you been speaking just in front of a mirror, who is afraid to speak in front of a mirror? Nobody. But everybody is afraid to speak on a podium in front of an audience. So is the fear of speaking or is the fear of the other? Is the fear really of speaking or is the fear of the other? The other. Now that makes things a little simpler to see. And as a young man, you should be alerted now that all this fear then is about being dominated by the other. I have allowed others so much of space in my life that they are dominating my life. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? You see, the results have just been declared in your university. Sit, Kulpreet. The results have just been declared, correct?
Yes.
And as always, there are students with backs and whose results are not up to their expectations and such things. And we have such people even from your campus. Many of them are connected to us, and from several other campuses. So they would come and say that we feel absolutely listless. There is no energy left. And we are so afraid. Then I asked them, tell me clearly, were you to not to show this mark sheet to anybody if this mark sheet were to just go to a cupboard and stay there, never to be asked by parents, friends, employers, anybody, had that been the situation, would you still be nervous and afraid? If the situation is that you just take the mark sheet and dump it somewhere and nobody in the entire world is going to ask for it, not today, not tomorrow, never, would you still be afraid? No. You are afraid because you have to show this mark sheet to your parents, to your friends, and to an employer eventually. So what are you really afraid of? The mark sheet or that other to whom you have to show the mark sheet? Kulpreet, all fear is of the other. All fear is of the other. But we don't understand fear. We don't understand fear. When someone comes us and dominates us in a very obvious way, then we feel insulted, right? If someone comes and says, get up, walk out, do this, do that, follow my orders, you feel insulted and you will revolt and you will fight. But you do not understand how deeply scared you are of all these people who are not directly dominating you but indirectly dominating you. Any of you who is afraid of raising a question is actually afraid of your own friends, of your own batchmates. Now that's the tragedy of our life. Our friends scare us. Forget about enemies. Our friends scare us and we don't even know that. We don't even know that. Otherwise, is this room full of poisonous animals or something? Dangerous creatures? About to leap at you and hold your throat? Not really, right? But we are still afraid. And not only you. That's the story of each one of us. But we don't understand that. We think we are afraid because of some unknown reason. We think fear is natural or something. Just because since childhood we have been brought up on fear, so we think that fear is natural. We don't see that fear is directly related. Forget about directly related. Fear is nothing but that which you have just done in your previous HIDP session. Ego. Ego. Do you see how ego is fear? You want me to take 5 minutes on it? Kulpreet, you sure have a particular image of yourself. There is a particular fellow here, let's say Vishal. Vishal, and he is one of your friends. Vishal meets you in the morning and says, Kulpreet, looking cool. And how does that sentence change in Kulpreet's mind? Vishal has said Kulpreet is cool. And Kulpreet takes that as I am cool. Now Kulpreet's self-image is dependent on Vishal. Which means that now Kulpreet is going to be forever afraid of his own friend Vishal. Sounds strange, right? Tell me why. I'll tell you. If Vishal has the power to make Kulpreet feel good about himself, then he also has the power to make Kulpreet, the same fellow who says, Kulpreet, you are brilliant, can in the afternoon say that Kulpreet, you are stupid. And if Kulpreet accepted that he is brilliant coming from somebody else, then he will necessarily also have to accept that he is stupid coming from somebody else. Isn't that what ego is? Your self-image borrowed from the society. We do not know ourselves. That who am I has not been touched by us. So I know myself only in terms of what others tell me I am. And when others tell me something, that is fear. Because what comes from the outside can also go back to the outside. It is not yours, remember. Somebody gave it to you. Somebody told you that you are smart, brilliant, amicable, friendly, and the rest of it. Whatsoever is the good thing that you think about yourself. Whatever bright image that you have of yourself, ask yourself, did I always have it? No, you didn't always have it. It came from somewhere. Where did it come from? It came from the words and approval of others. And if others can approve of you, they can also. So you will be afraid. And that is the reason why, Kuldeep, you said that your heart was pumping. Your heart was pumping because you don't know who you are. All your image about yourself, your self-concept is totally dependent upon all these people. That's why your heart was pumping so badly.
Sir, okay, my heart was pumping. I was thinking about it.
Yes.
I was thinking that something will happen. I don't know what. So the fear came.
Yes.
ठीक है sir, exactly when that someone told me that I am looking good, I am brilliant.
Yes.
I thought about it. That कि हाँ वो कह रहा है मैं अच्छा हूँ तो मैं अच्छा हूँ. I have to live up to that image. So if I would not get control my thinking about that, please explain how should I get in the right direction so I can avoid this, that there's nothing to fear about. There's nothing that वो कह रहा है तो brilliant, let me check on myself. So how that thinking process must go? Because all that comes from when we think.
All thoughts, Kuldeep, right now the assumption that you are making is that there is an inappropriate thought and there is a nice thought, right thought, appropriate thought. And hence you have worded your question to me that, sir, can you please tell me about right thinking?
Sir, not exactly that. Sir, I'm unable to explain myself exactly.
How should I go about thinking?
Yeah.
How can we stop thinking?
Or is it so?
How can
Or
we
is that
stop
that?
thinking?
How can we stop
We
thinking?
cannot stop thinking.
That's not what he's asking. He's
We
asking,
cannot stop thinking, I said.
he's asking what is the right way of thinking.
Kind of.
Kind of. Had you asked that, how can we stop thinking? That would have been a notch higher. But alright, we'll take this up. There is no right or wrong thinking because what is right and what is wrong was not always known to you. Even that has come from. So of what use is right thinking? And what is. You think about killing a small insect. One religion would say it's very, very wrong. Any Jains here? Forget about insect. They say when you breathe and inhale, please take care of the small bacterium as well. So what do the Jain monks do? They put this putty, this filter, so that there is no killing at all. They say this is what is right. So the right thought is ahimsa. Then there is another religion that would say that when a particular festival comes, please slaughter, kurbani, and kill even large animals. Forget about goats, cows and camels. Even they are to be slaughtered. What is right? What do you mean by right thinking and wrong thinking? All this right and wrong is the product of human mind, and all that human mind has comes from somebody else. All your notions of right and wrong, tell me please, have you always considered something to be right and something to be wrong? At your age, at your young age, capable age, won't you want to inquire from where have you obtained these notions of right and wrong? Somebody told them to you, right? You are this old. And daddy says, always speak the truth, don't lie, don't hurt others, respect elders, and do your homework. And that's right. And if you steal, that is wrong. But the world is still full of thieves. Huge scandals. Forget about theft. We have dacoities. Heists. Forget about stealing 10 rupees. Here the order is of billions. And all those who are stealing these billions were kids once. And they all have been given this concept of right and wrong. Yet the world is full of rapists and murderers and thieves. And every rapist was at one time always told to not to hurt others. In fact, most of you would have had a subject called moral science, which was nothing but telling you what is right and what is wrong, what is moral and what is immoral. Am I right? All your concepts of right and wrong come from there. You don't understand them. There is no right thought and no wrong thought. All thought is external. Only intelligence is yours. And intelligence is not a thought. Intelligence is not a thought. Then what is it? Then what is it? Is there anybody here right now who is really listening to me? Or who has listened to me even for a period of 1 minute intently? Yes, Kuldeep? Are you really listening keenly to me right now? Are you thinking as well? You're not thinking, you're listening. Intelligence is in action, but it is not a thought. Right now what is happening is the pure action of intelligence. Kuldeep is so attentive. Look at the way he's sitting. He's reclining towards me. And his eyes are all firm. His ears are all at me. There is that complete, pure, intense action of intelligence. But are you thinking? No, you are not. You are understanding without thinking. In fact, thought would be such a great corruption at this moment. If thought comes at this moment, listening would be impeded. You would no more be listening, your understanding would evaporate. No right thinking, no wrong thinking, but this. Hold on to this. This is the way of life. A silent, deep, intense understanding. No right thought, no wrong thought, because all thought is borrowed. All thought is borrowed. And all thought prevents you from being, tell me, if you will think about something right now, what would it be about? I am saying something. As I am saying something, can you think about it? And if you start thinking about it, won't you miss the next word that I say? So what will thought do to you? That will take you away from this moment. Isn't that obvious? If you start thinking about what I am saying, you can no more listen to what I am saying. You all are adults, pretty advanced in age by now. Love must have knocked on your life, surely. In the moment of love, are you thinking? What to do, what not to do? What are the limits? Are you thinking? Not before you met her. In the moment. Are you still thinking? And if you're still thinking, then there's a problem.
Because if we think this will spoil the moment.
Such is life. Please appreciate, thought arises. Thought arises as a problem-solving mechanism. Thought is based on the information that you already have. And thought can solve only that problem which is related to the past. Because thought can go into only that which is already there in your past. Sitting over here, please think that you are speaking Spanish. Please do that. Please think that you are speaking Spanish. Do that. Can you do that? You can't even think that you are speaking Spanish because Spanish is not there in your past. Now what I am saying, is it already there in your past? What I am saying, is it already there in your past? Has this moment already come to you before? has Kuldeep asked this question several times before to me in this setting? This moment is new. In fact, every moment is new. So what will thought do with that? Thought can only deal with that which is concerned with the... If it's something related to the past, for sure, please use thought. If you want to recall where you left your keys, please think, because it's an event in the past and thought will help. If somebody asks you for a particular information, please think, because all information comes from the past. But right now, if you start thinking, then you are missing out on what is real, what is right now, and you are going into the past which has no relation to what is happening right now. Are you getting it? So there is no right thinking or wrong thinking. There is just that silent, deep, intense understanding. Fear is a thought, please. And that thought is of others, and others terrify you because your intelligence does not look at yourself. You do not ask yourself, who am I? Instead, you borrow your sense of yourself from somebody else. Somebody else tells you you are a Hindu, and what do you start saying? I am a Hindu. Now, did you choose to be a Hindu? No. But you are so sure that you are a Hindu. You are damn sure I am a Hindu. How are you a Hindu? Because somebody else handed it over to you. Yeah? And you want to live like this? On things that have been handed over to you? If you will live on somebody else's notion of you, you will forever be afraid. And each one of us sitting over here is deeply afraid. That is our personal hell. Anybody here who is not afraid, who is not living in that personal hell? The objects of fear may vary, but there is nobody who is not afraid. You cannot get rid of fear unless your intelligence looks at your own mind, unless you understand yourself, the functioning of your own system, your own processes. But that will be greatly resisted by your ego, because your education and your upbringing has trained you to always look at the other, whereas real intelligence is about looking at, ultimately you use this to look at others, right? So even to look clearly at others, you have to first take care of this. Even if you are fond of understanding what the world is all about, you will have to necessarily first take care